Hi girls, it's Miss Gaska. Today I'm going to go over 8th grade week 1 activity 4.3 or classifying comedy. So our learning targets for today are going to be categorize humorous text into levels of comedy and write an analysis of how an artist creates humor. Okay? Our learning strategies are going to be marking the text, graphic organizer, note-taking, not discussion groups, brainstorming, raft, and drafting. Okay? So understanding levels of comedy. Let's read what they have to say to us. Comedy occurs in different ways. Read and mark the text to indicate information that is new to you. Okay, so it's asking us to read and mark it, but it doesn't tell us how. So you could use the highlight tool if that's what you prefer, or you could use the underline tool if that's what you prefer. Okay, so low comedy refers, I'm going to highlight that because I think I might need to see it quickly in the future, so it's going to catch my eye if I see it. Low comedy refers to the type of humor that is focused primarily on the situation or series of events. It includes such things as physical mishaps, humor concerning the human body and its functions, coincidences, and humorous situations. With low comedy, the humor is straightforward and generally easy to follow or understand. So I didn't know that it had to do with anything focused primarily on the situation or series of events. And then I have some thoughts about like the kind of things it mentions. So I guess when it says physical mishaps, it probably means like falling, humor concerning the human body, I guess would be like fart jokes, coincidences, and humorous situations. I can't really think of any examples of those right now, but I'm sure we could think of some if we tried. But I'm going to keep going for the sake of time. So since the primary purpose of low comedy is to entertain, so we have a purpose, the action is frequently seen as hilarious or hysterical, and the effect is often side-splitting laughter and guffaws. Ooh, that's an unfamiliar word. I'm going to go ahead and circle that since it might not be a word that you've seen before. Many times the characters are exaggerated caricatures, here's another word that you may or may not already know, rather than fully developed characters. These caricatures are often caught in unlikely situations, or they become the victims of circumstance seemingly beyond their control. Thus, the plot takes priority over the characters. Examples of low comedy might include Medea's Family Reunion, Meet the Parents, and America's Funniest Home Videos. Shakespeare's comedies, such as A Midsummer Night's Dream and Twelfth Night, are full of low comedy. Okay, so I'm going to stop reading there, and I'm going to allow you to continue to read the rest and mark whatever you have found that you think is new information for you. So then, when we get to the questions, this is how you should answer them. Number 2 says, I didn't know we had hold on. Oh, yeah. Never mind. So, number 2 says, why do we distinguish between different kinds of comedy? So once again, distinguish means how do we differentiate? How do we separate the two? How do we make them unique from each other? So why do we distinguish those different types? Make sure you're using quotes to support your evidence or to support your ideas. Number 3 says with the partner, which we're not going to do since we don't have partners. Take notes to complete each chart on the next page. Brainstorm a strong example at each level of comedy. So for that, you're not going to be with the partner, but you are going to go and take notes on the next page and brainstorm a strong example of each level. So it has low comedy, so the purpose, basically why people use low comedy. Common subjects, meaning like what types of subjects does low comedy usually cover. The emphasis, like what is it trying to emphasize, what is it trying to make stand out. Descriptions, so like what describes low comedy, and then intended responses. What are they trying to get the audience to do? And then same for high comedy, you have all the same sections. Alright, when you get down to this part, number 4 says, brainstorm what you already know about comic strips and political cartoons. Think about format, audience, topics, description of humor, intended effects, etc. So you're going to be looking for those things as you brainstorm about these 2 things, comic strips and political cartoons. So to get you started, I'll give you a few ideas. So for comic strips, I might put several panels, because comic strips are usually like, what, 3 or 4 panels, or sometimes longer depending on what the comic is. Usually for children, right? Topics, well, I've seen like animals, families, things like that. You continue on and add different details. Political cartoons. Usually that's only like 1 panel. It's usually intended for adults, and then add more details about that. Okay? So then it says, read and mark the text of the following definitions for information that is new to you. So it's the same as what we already did before, you're just doing it for this new piece of information. I'm not going to go over it with you just in case you haven't done your comic strips and political cartoons part yet, and you're just waiting for the video to finish, but basically do the same thing you were doing before. Here it says, check your understanding. In order to compare and contrast comics and political cartoons, create a Venn diagram that lists the characteristics of each. Are there any areas where they overlap? Now, it's kind of difficult to create a Venn diagram when they don't give you any space whatsoever. So I'm going to ask you instead to create a little chart over here that'd be like comics, political, both. So elements of comics, elements of political cartoons, and then what do they both share? Here it says introducing the strategy, RAFT. RAFT is an acronym that stands for Role, Audience, Format, and Topic. Role, Audience, Format, and Topic. RAFT is a strategy that can be used for responding to and analyzing a text by identifying and examining its role, audience, format, and topic. So use the graphic organizer and the RAFT strategy on the next page to analyze the humor in comics and political cartoons based on previous definitions. So here it gives us the role. Who is the author? Where is this comic or political cartoon found? What is the attitude or tone of the author toward the subtopic, and how can you tell? So you're finding an example of, I don't know if they give you an example or if you find an example. I would say just find an example online of a comic and a political cartoon and explain the role, the audience, the format, and the topic. If you don't know how to do that, just go to Google and type in comic strip or political cartoon, and then pick one from Google Images that works for you. For audience, who does this comic or political cartoon target, and how do you know? So that means, like, who are they trying to talk to, and how do you know that that's who they're trying to talk to? Format says, describe the use of print and non-print techniques such as dialogue, narration frames, and angles used for effect. So, like, what kind of things are they using in order to enhance their comic, make it funnier, whatever it is they're trying to do. And the topic is, what is this comic or cartoon about? Who are the characters? What is happening? How would you describe the humor? Like low humor, high humor. And then what is the intended effect? And then finally, it says, think about your selected cartoon or comic. How does the author create humor? Write a paragraph explaining your answer. Be sure to establish a controlling idea that describes the humor and its effect. Include specific details from the cartoon or comic to support your ideas. Explain whether the cartoon or comic is high or low humor and why, and use precise diction to describe humor. So when I'm writing that paragraph, I'm going to be thinking about all of those things. I'm going to start off with my topic sentence, and then I'm going to describe my comic using these guidelines that it's given me. So that's it for 4.3. And I think I'll give you a quick example of a paragraph that answers this, because I think it's probably the most important part for you guys to understand. So when it says, establish a controlling idea that describes the humor and its effect. So I'm going to go ahead and search for a comic. I'm going to search for a political cartoon. Okay. And then I'm going to go to images. I'm going to pick one that I like. So how about this one? It says, "Take that, Canada, Mexico, and Europe." It has a guy in a USA hat with an American flag, and he has like this huge piece of steel going through him that says trade war. So here I'm going to establish a controlling idea that describes the humor and its effect, and I'm going to do all of these things it's mentioning. So to begin with, I'm going to say, in the political comic, doesn't have a name, let's find out. So, in the political comment I chose, usually I wouldn't use I when writing, but in this case I would, just so that I know what, you know. In the political comment I chose, the central idea is that the trade war against Canada, Europe, and Mexico hurts U.S. citizens more so than it hurts those we would be trading with. In the comic, a man wearing a USA hat with a flag in his hand is saying, I think he said something like, "Take that, Canada, Mexico, and Europe." And then I'm going to put the website I got it from, which is grunge.com. However, a massive piece of steel is piercing his stomach, showing us that the man is the one being hurt by the trade war. The man, or with the man representing the US. This comic would be considered high humor because and then I would go on and describe why that comic is high humor. But that's just an example of how to do the first two, which say establish a controlling idea that describes the humor and the effect, and including specific details to support the idea. And so as you do that, that should make some sense to you. But if you have any questions about it, just let me know. So I'm going to say that's it, because the next activity is 4.4, so that'll be a new video. I hope that you learned something from watching this, and if you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask me, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for watching.